I called my mum because I was feeling really run down, so she sent over this feast for us for dinner.
I guess, yeah, I know. What's he doing here all day? Wait, didn't you have a house? Hello lovelies, welcome to a new reading vlog. We're about to hit the beach. It's high 30s today, which is around 100 degrees for you guys in America. So I will probably read a lot while I'm at the beach and let you know all about it tomorrow. Sylvie, that's not a cat bed.
I know, I feel like it doesn't feel like the new year either.
Good morning guys. I thought I'd just quickly hop on to give you an update. I got apps. I don't know if you can even see the redness, but I got cooked at the beach. I sacrificed myself. I let the girls stay under the towel and I was in the sun and it was just too hot. It was too hot and yeah, I'm a red lobster. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually DNF'd word by word. After the grammar chapter, which I didn't love, the next one was all about the word irregardless, which was already mentioned in the first chapter, but no, it got its own chapter. And I just, I just got bored. I'm sorry, I just got bored. I love the first chapter of this, the subsequent chapters, not so much. I don't know, it was just too much into linguistics for me. And I'm like, okay, it turns out I don't love linguistics as much as I thought I did, surprisingly. But also like all talking about one particular word is just, I don't care about the word regardless. So I DNF'd it. I did not read anything else. It turns out the beach is a really difficult place to read when it's packed. There was so much noise and things going on that I gave up. I just thought, I'm just going to lie here and look at the ocean. Reading at the beach when it's busy is actually not something I can do. So I haven't read anything else. I will see you again once I have. I have a feeling it won't be until the new year. I'm exhausted and we've actually got a lot going on. Friends coming over and play dates and things of that in that vein. So I don't know when I'm going to see you next. This is definitely not going to be just 1 week of reading vlog because it might be 0 books if it was. But I will see you guys when I see you. Good morning guys. It's been a while since I last updated you. It was so long, in fact, that I hadn't even looked at my face for over a week and found out that my monobrow was making its return. So I had to deal with that before I came on. It's full peak summer, so you're probably going to see me with wet hair the majority of the time because I'm just constantly showering because of the heat wave. But not complaining, would rather be sweaty than cold. Before I even tell you about what I've been up to, so I finally finished my decks. Thank God. So I am completely burnt out on that now, but it's all done. Now I can go back to reading as my main hobby and creative outlet. So I thought I'd mention though, I joined Pagebound. So it's a reading app. I wasn't asked to, just came across it and I thought, I'll give it a go. I'm always trying to find a substitute for Goodreads. The fact that they won't even change anything, they're not open to any sort of feedback. Like for instance, even allowing 5-star ratings. I emailed them myself. I said, are you going to change? And they said no. And I'm like, get with the times, Goodreads. So I'm always looking at other things. Storygraph wasn't for me. I tried so many. I'm on Fable, but their library is so limited. And every time I've requested them to add a new book, it doesn't get added. And as someone who reads a huge amount of books that are self-published or independently published, that means a lot of the books I read don't get tracked. So it makes that kind of pointless, that app. I do like it though. It's got a good interface. It's got a good blend of social stuff and actually tracking your books. It does involve the use of AI, which I'm not really keen on, as you know. So I wasn't that happy with it as an alternative option. So yeah, I found Pagebound. Pagebound is very gamified. There are quests that you can join challenges where you earn badges or medals or awards. It's very heavy on the social aspect. So if you are someone who loves to chat to other people about books, they've got, just like sort of Fable does, they've got forum options. So you can leave a review for a book, you can write in the forum, there are lists, there are book clubs, there's just a lot that you can do. I'm still working my way through it. You can leave emojis on the reviews if you don't want to write anything. You can do half-star ratings. I would love if they could include quarter star, that would be perfect. And you can also rate the book based on the plot, on the characters, you know, and other aspects as well. So it is quite nuanced. It's, like I said, it's got a very cute gamer style aesthetic. What else is there about it? I haven't got it up on my screen right now, but you can also, it'll show you other readers who have high percentage of similar reads as you, so you can add them as friends. You can level up. Like I said, it's very big on the game aspect. You can also email message the creators of the app and request new features. They show you what's on the roadmap, what's currently being done, what's in the future. So it's 2 women that created the app. There's no AI. So I think it's got a lot of potential. I think they're also adding in more statistic features, so you can look at your stats, your reading stats. So yeah, it could be the new one. You can also request books. I haven't done that yet, so I will see how they go in terms of when I request a book be added to the database, how long it takes for them to add the book. So it's got potential. One thing I do love about Goodreads though is all of the editions they have for the book. So you can actually choose the exact edition that you're reading. I think that's a great feature. But yeah, page bound at the moment, I'm actually rather enjoying it and it's fun. So that could be the next one. Like I'm going to drop Fable now. There's no point for me continuing on with that. And I'm going to switch over to page bound. Well, I still stick with Goodreads because Goodreads is probably something I will always have as a backup because I know the site won't go down. It's owned by Amazon, you know, whereas these other websites, you don't know if they're going to be around forever. And I need to know what I've read. It's someone who reads a lot. Before these book tracking websites came along, you don't know how many times I picked up a book that I'd already read and would only realize like a quarter of the way through, hang on, I've read this before. And that's because, as someone mentioned recently, I think I was talking to Meg, when you read a huge amount of books, you don't remember, pretty much the ones that you remember the most without your memory having to be jogged are your 5-star reads and your 1-star reads, the books that elicit a very strong emotional response. Everything in between that is lost to the sands of time unless you know, go back, read your review, read the plot synopsis, and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that now. So without book trackers, I would waste a lot of time picking up books I've already read that I didn't enjoy the first time around. And yeah, that used to happen a lot. It even happened recently. I think I picked up a book and I was thinking, I'm getting deja vu. I feel like I've read this before. Is this just derivative or have I read this before? I'd read it before, but I hadn't added it to Goodreads. I'd just forgotten. And I was like, okay, this is why. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention page bound in case that is something that you're interested in. Like I said, I've only been on it for a week, but yeah, so far so good. If I had the funds, I would absolutely join their paid subscription to support the ladies, but it's $10 a month, and I'm not sure if that's US. If that's US, it's a lot of money. But as a free app, you still have tons of functions. So the paid subscription is just so that you can personally request things in terms of features you want added, and you have a say and you can vote on things, and it's just also to support the women that are running this themselves. Now, what have I been up to book-wise? Let's have a look. Okay, so yes, I was listening to the Hierarchies by Ros Anderson. Let me just see who narrated that. Was that on Libby? No, that one was Borrowbox. Look, I'll just find out later. It's not loading. And put it up on the screen who narrated it. I thought they did a good job. So this is a sci-fi book and it's about Sylvie. And Sylvie is a luxury, fully sentient robot girlfriend wife thing whose sole purpose is to adore and service a man she calls her husband. Her husband is a human man and he also has a human wife. So Sylvie lives hidden in the attic like some kind of Stepford Jane Eyre shameful secret, where she spends most of her time playing with her pet robot bird, journaling her spiraling and slowly more awakened thoughts, watching her husband's real family through the window, and slowly coming to the realization that being programmed to love someone completely and utterly doesn't mean that they will love you in return, or even see you as a real person. As Sylvie's consciousness expands, she starts asking dangerous questions like, do I matter? And is consent still consent if it's hard-coded? And her husband responds the way a lot of fragile men do, by threatening to wipe and reboot Sylvie anytime she disagrees with him. So this is a less killer robot and more emotional labor finally snaps. It essentially is a man builds his perfect woman, ignores her, gaslights her, and is then shocked when she develops thoughts, opinions, and feelings about it. I thought it was a chilling, claustrophobic, feminist sci-fi because you were trapped in Sylvie's very small, controlled world. And the result is quite emotionally brutal, very deeply uncomfortable, and sometimes darkly funny in the if you don't laugh, you'll scream kind of way. The book will make you want to throw all these husbands and the cruel women into the sun. The main themes in this were of consent versus coercion, emotional labor and ownership, patriarchy, control, and the idea of a perfect woman, surveillance, confinement, autonomy, the difference between being wanted and being valued, and what makes someone real. This is, to me, absolutely giving Annie Bot and Poor Things, but it was definitely gave me more of what I wanted than Annie Bot did. Obviously, Stepford Wives is also a similar read. This book doesn't pussyfoot around, guys, both in terms of cataloging and witnessing the abuse and violence, the SA and the exploitation that is committed against these synthetic women, in how they just describe things in general. Like when they were describing the bodies of these AI sex bots, essentially, we'll get descriptions like, I have a fully responsive silicone vagina, dishwasher proof. And he had a tiny black bullet of an asshole. I did enjoy this. Enjoy is not the right word. I thought it was well done. I gave it 3.5. The issues I had was that it was way too long. I don't think we needed to spend as much time witnessing these horrible acts of violence and control and submission over Sylvie. It's like, we get it. And there was too much time spent in it that I felt a bit trauma porny. Like, I'm like, okay, this is just depressing. Like, why do we have to see so much of the abuse that she's suffering when she is powerless to stop it? So that is frustrating because it's wired into her to obey and do no harm against humans, even when they are hurting and violating her. So that, like I said, it's hard to read. It's just like, oh my God, fight back, man. Go against your programming, do something, but it's not that kind of book. There was also, I thought there was kind of like a sapphic element. I don't know if it's sapphic or maybe it was just female friendship. I was unsure. The book did end up going, I don't know if it's not in a completely predictable direction, but the ending just wasn't super satisfying for me. Yeah, like I said, it is a depressing read because of how Sylvie is treated by those around her. And it does go into the Poor Things territory. There is a lot of sex work in this, and Sylvie has that childlike kind of quality that I've forgotten the name of the character of Poor Things had. So it reminded me a lot of that. But yeah, 3.5 stars. I'm going to sneeze, hold on. Okay, so I am currently listening to Dracula by Bram Stoker. So this is essentially a reread because I did read Bram Bram Stoker's Dracula. Back when I was a teenager, I remember liking it. I was a big goth kid back then. It's very, I will say, my experience of it is probably being impacted by the fact that one, I'm already familiar with the story, but two, I have seen so many film adaptations of it, some of which that I absolutely love, that it's hard to, I guess, enjoy the source material when you've seen it brought to life better, where you've seen others make choices on how to convey the story in a way that makes just better sense and is more entertaining. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with Bram Stoker's Dracula, so the audiobook that I'm listening to is voiced by Tavia Gilbert and JP Guimont, or Guimont, and they are doing a stellar job. Great range of voices, very well done. So this is about an extremely old Transylvanian man with bad boundaries and questionable motives who decides that he wants to buy real estate in England, bring his emotional support dirt with him, and then start aggressively flirting with everyone's fiance. And then you have a group of Victorians who respond by inventing vampire science on the fly, brandishing crucifixes and garlic necklaces like hawkers trying to sell you shit at popular tourist destinations, and deciding that the only solution to this vampiric problem is friendship, a ton of unsanitary blood transfusions, and beheading. So Dracula, the king of the vampires, is a very moody, obsessive, horny and kind of bureaucratic creature. And this story is told through letters, diaries, telegrams, and medical notes. It reads like a 19th century group chat where everyone is way out of their depth. I will say it is creepy in places, not so much scary, and it's actually kind of funny in other places. Dracula himself barely appears. So I'm halfway through this very long book. This is a 20-hour audiobook, and we've gotten to the point, I can't spoil it, but we haven't, Dracula was in it at the start when Jonathan met him, and now he's just being talked about. The group, the Scooby Gang, knows that he's in England, that he has bitten some people that they care about, and they're trying to figure out a plan on how to capture him, but he's not really on page. Yet he's dominating, his energy and his aura dominates the book, kind of like a toxic ex that you can't stop talking about. I will say, though, it's very slow. Like I said, by this 62% mark, I thought we would be further ahead knowing the plot line of Dracula, so to speak. But no, I'm like, how have we got 40% to go at this point? What can you possibly have to say? So I will say that I think this could have absolutely been shortened, been tightened up. A lot of it feels repetitive and therefore redundant. It's just, very long-winded. Is it iconic though? Yes, it is iconic. And is Van Helsing doing the most? Constantly. He is carrying the load in this. He is the only one that even has a fucking inkling of a clue of what to do and what's going on. And he's having to, bless him, explain and illuminate it all to the rest of them who haven't got a whisker of knowledge about what's happening. I will say that the book, the themes, it's mostly obsession and possession, as well as sexual repression and desire. Oh my God, the way that they talk about women just being these sweet little innocent, cute, darling little things that they must protect at all costs. It's the chivalry's fucking dialed up to an 11. They call these grown women little girls, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. They're grown women. They're capable. And also, they're allowed to express desire, my guys, without being wanton sluts. But, this is an old book. It's an old book. And I'm surprised at how heavy it is on the bromance. Just like, they're all sucking each other's dicks. It's a delight. How wonderful. They're all getting along like old chaps. But I forgot that about, the story. Also, I had to laugh with every dude tripping over his dick to give blood to Lucy, to participate in the blood transfusions. I'm like, oh my God, they were all obsessed, all in love with her, willing to die for her. Take all my blood, drain me dry, anything for Lucy. But yeah, Not much vampire action and not very scary. It's not very scary, but it inspired so much. It's just vampire lore, you know, it's setting the scene, even though I now know that Camilla came before this, so it wasn't, you know, the origin story, as we were all led to believe for so long. Camilla came first. Originally, we all thought it was the origin story, and therefore, like I said, it inspired this whole vampiric lore thing. I believe was this filed in nonfiction? I don't know. I remember as a teenager finding vampire books in the nonfiction section and going, wait, what, is this real? But obviously, nonfiction section includes things like folklore, of which vampires are part of. But yeah, like, it's enjoyable. I'm just not in love with it, and it's just going on for too long. I'm getting kind of tired. I'm like, all right, can we wrap this up? Thank you. So we'll see how we go. Mina's great. Mina's a great character, but it's hard. It's hard to be a woman around men who infantilize you and coddle you and treat you as if you are delightfully useless and fragile. But I'm listening to that, and I've also got Azalea Crowley's Odd Blood. So I bought this thanks to the donations of my viewers, and this is self-published. It's self-published, so that is the downside. I think that I'll unfortunately probably end up reading less self-published books this year, because my library does not order these. I will not really buy self-published stuff, and so I have always had to buy all of them myself, and I've got a lower book budget this year, so it would be a shame, but it is what it is. But thanks to my viewers, I was able to buy one. And this was recommended to me by another viewer. I think it was a Reading Sunflower. So what is this about? So I think this is about a millennial who's facing burnout. I think she's about to lose her housing. You know, it's tough for millennials out there. And she goes to a Halloween party where she meets a man who is dressed up like a vampire. And she ends up entwined with this dude because he's got a job that sounds enticing, could help her out of her pickle, and all she has to do is babysit Ed Wolf's elderly granny roommate. So like I said, I've been fucking loving elderly characters in books lately. So a millennial and an elderly character sounds hilarious. It says there's also a slow burn romance in this. It is for 18 plus, there's horror and gore, and it just sounds like a fun time. So I'm looking forward to reading this. Physically, I've also on ebook, I've got a fantasy lit RPG. It's How to Defeat a Demon King in 10 Easy Steps by Andrew Rao. So that's what I've got on the docket. This will be definitely over a week vlog, because I've just been taking lots of days off in between to work, and I'll get back onto my schedule soon, but I'll see you once I've got some more updates.
Don't laugh at me. I just gotta see if there's anything. It's a mood. That looks kind of cool. Never ever after. What else we got? Well, they've actually got a decent amount. Why, there's so many thrillers. This is the one we're testing. You got herbal.
Hello, my darlings. It is Monday. I am going to be finishing the vlog off today because I actually finished a lot of books. I spent all morning cleaning the house because I thought I was going to be hosting a sleepover, but my teenager has just woken up. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and she's decided she's too tired from yesterday's socializing and events. So it's been cancelled, but that's okay. At least my house is clean. That being said, the rest of the day is going to be spent building furniture and rearranging rooms, because for Christmas, my teenager, besides asking for a handbag and a Pandora charm, asked for furniture. She wants to reorganize her bedroom. So I've bought a new vanity. I'll see if I can do some before and after shots. And basically I've got to build the vanity, get rid of the old one. We're getting rid of the bookcase. I'm going to give her a set of drawers where I keep my tarot and oracle decks, and instead I'm going to use the bookcase for the tarot and oracle decks, and she's going to use a set of drawers for more organization In her room, she has a lot of clothes, and at the moment, she sort of just throws them in because we don't have shelves in the pull-out ones. It's just hanging. So hopefully that will help both of us. But yeah, I've got a lot of building and moving, and I'm annoyed at the delivery people because they just dumped the furniture at the front door. They didn't knock, nothing. They just dumped it and ran. And one of the boxes was 50 kilos. And that's how much I weigh. And luckily, my past bodybuilding paid off and I still had some little muscles left and I was able to lift it up and get it into the house. But dude, I had to summon every bit of strength I had to get that into the house. So yeah, that's another sign to me that I really need to go back to exercising because I do not like feeling weak, but thank God I got it in. Can you imagine if I couldn't get it in and it's just sitting there and I had to like call my dad from an hour away, Dad, can you come down and move a box inside for me? I'd be so annoyed at myself, but I'm using that as motivation after today because I'm going to be building on moving all day. After today, it's back to hitting the weights, bro. I've gotten too soft and weak. What was I going to say? Oh, I also made a little bag. Got some more yarn in, so like how cute. I love the colors of these guys. Love the colors. I just thought I'd show you. So cute. All right, let me tell you what I've read since it's so much. That's why I'm ending the vlog. There's too many books. Now that I finished making the decks, and because the kids and I are going to be home most of this week because we've got, not today, obviously you can tell by my clothing, today's cold, but a heat wave is about to hit where it's going to be 44 degrees, which is 111 Fahrenheit, and like days of mid 40 temperatures is rough. I know I'm an Aussie and I love heat, but my house doesn't, and that's the issue, is that the inside of my house gets so hot we can't sleep and it's just too hot. But we're gonna roll with it. But like I said, we're mostly going to be indoors with all the curtains closed. There'll be no sunlight. We're going to live in a cave of darkness to try and stay cool. Okay, so I did finish Dracula by Bram Stoker, and that was the audiobook, which I thought was well done. I've ended on a 3.25. It was just very long-winded. It went on for too long. The scenes could definitely have been condensed, and I'm glad that the movie adaptations do sort of do that, whereas this just languished, just kept on going. A lot of it felt repetitive and redundant, and look, just the way that they, like I said, infantilized the women. We're just like, oh, you sweet darling little thing. And we all fell in love with Lucy, and oh, these little girls must be protected, and yet they leave these little girls on their own so many times. I'm like, why are you doing this? Have someone in the room, not outside the room, in the room. So yeah, I'm guessing it's when there's no record keeping, I don't know what I would have rated it back as a teenager. There were no such things as rating books back then. It's either, yeah, I loved it, thought it was average, didn't like it. But I remember I did love it. But I feel like as an adult and as someone who's now read thousands and thousands of books, I have less tolerance for long-winded, repetitive books. You know, so I'm such a fan of novellas and short books because I just like things that get into it and that cut the chaff, cut the fat. Books are, I'm more hyper aware of when a scene has gone on for too long, or like I said, was just overly adorned, and it's like, hey, it's like wrapping a gift 5 times. It's like, why would you do 5 layers just to, why? So yeah, I'm more a fan of paring back. So these older classics, sometimes, not all classics, but some of them are just overly long. And so it does ruin my enjoyment a bit because I'm like, okay, get on with it. We get the point you're making. You've had this monologue now 7 times in the book. We already know this information. We already know and we're already aware. Let's move it on. So yes, 3.25. And then I picked up for the book. So one of the prompts for this month was pick a book on display at your library, and the one I went with was It's a Mood by Cara Woodhouse, Your Home, Your Vibe. This was lots of color and texture and patterns and very quirky accents. It was what I would call maybe eclectic aesthetic. That was very modern, but it was also quite playful and whimsical, and yet also livable, like you can actually live a regular life in these spaces. I absolutely loved all of the breakfast nooks. That's something I wish that I could have. It's my dream to one day have a breakfast nook. Onyx was definitely having a moment in this book, which I'm here for. I'm a fan of Onyx. We thought about doing Onyx in one of our property developments, but the price, I'm like, no, Onyx bathtub and Onyx bench tops, that's for your personal home. It's not for a property that you're selling. It's just, there's no profit to be made in that. There were also some little home libraries featured. I'm always on the lookout for interesting home libraries. Overall, it was just really creative and interesting. The writing is basic. You're not here to read the words, okay? You're here for the inspiration, and I was heavily inspired. Let's see if there's some fave looks. Like, I just loved everything. I'm very much into, it's not minimalist, but I don't like overly cluttered. I do like modern, but I also like warm. But just look at this bathtub. This is a pink onyx. That's insane. That's insane. I especially love though round bathtubs, fully rounded bathtubs. But just the texture, like these couches, I absolutely loved. You know, I'm a sucker for anything plush, but this is just fun and interesting. I'm so tired of, not tired of, but if I had a home, I'd probably do the overall color scheme as more neutrals and earthy and muted, because that's very calming to my nervous system. But I would want fun details. And I love fun details, especially if they in architecture. So it's not clutter, it's not, you know, a decoration, it's the architecture itself that is the appealing element. So I absolutely love it. Same with the textile. So the color of the stone or the pattern in the stone. I'm actually kind of into wallpaper, which is not something that I used to gravitate towards. But like I see, this is very muted, and yet it's still visually interesting. It doesn't feel basic and boring. I just felt like I wouldn't even want to know how much this costs. That amount of stone, that's crazy. But man, to be rich and to be able to just, price isn't a factor. Money is, do whatever you want. The sky's the limit. What a dream. But like I said, I love, like even this, I like this little breakfast area. I love a bench when it comes to eating. It just adds personality and a bit of magic, a bit of individuality. And like, here's a pink one. Here's a pink breakfast nook. I'm not a fan of glass because I'm scared of it breaking, but it's just, like I said, I was just very inspired by this. It was something different instead of the same old that I'm always seeing. Oh my God, this chair. I can just imagine sitting there reading. But yeah, I do wish that I had a home that I could apply this to. But I just, yeah, this was fantastic. So I'm giving it a 4.5. It's not a 5-star. Excuse me. It's not a 5-star, but it was a mood. It's a mood, and I loved it. I loved it. What else? What's next? If you watch my channel, you'll know I recently watched The Mighty Nein, which is a Critical Role series, animated, and I fucking loved it. So even before then, like a year ago, I randomly picked up Critical Role Mighty Nein Origins of Caduceus Clay, and I didn't know any other context about it, but I liked that graphic novel, but decided, oh, I'm not going to read any more of these because these are obviously origin stories of characters in a series. Well, watch the series. Caduceus is actually not in it yet. He must come along later. So it's good to know about an upcoming character. But now that I've met 8 of the 9, I thought, let's go back and read their origin stories because I'm actually interested in their origin stories. So I started with my 2 favorite characters. So we've got Jester Lavorre, and this, so let's talk about Jester. So what if your mum was a famous courtesan and you were raised in a hotel room full of secrets, and your only friend, your imaginary friend, is actually a real morally grey god who thrives on encouraging mischief? So our titular character, Jester Lavorre, is a blue ray of sunshine with a dirty sense of humor and zero impulse control. And she grows up mostly unsupervised. There's a bit of child neglect. She's a bit of a latchkey kid. And between elaborate pranks, emotional loneliness, and divine whisperings from the traveller, the trickster god, Jester learns 2 lessons. 1, that chaos is fun, and 2, chaos is also how she copes with abandonment. Eventually, a few minor incidents, property damage, public humiliation of a government official, light crime, push Jester out into the world where she's spiritually destined to join the absolute disaster squad known as the Mighty Nein. Jester, just like Jester, this little origin story was irreverent, it was sweet, and it was emotionally perceptive without going grimdark. There was a balance of prank comedy and the genuine loneliness, which did a good job in showing how Jester's relentless joy and optimism is both part of her personality but also a survival strategy masking trauma. Jester in the gang is probably the most comedic, and like I said, the one that is quick to try and soothe and comfort other people, especially through sense of humor, but you can see the origins of that here. The art style, very expressive and playful, and it was perfectly suited to Jester's very exaggerated emotions and her pastel chaos worldview. It feels playful without being childish. I gave it a 3.75. It's just very, very brief, and I was hoping to get, I don't know, more of the dynamic with her mum. Like, surely when she was younger, maybe things were different. Was her mum just always a courtesan spy, or is that her latest assignment? So it didn't really go into depth, I felt. It just sort of showed very similar to what we've already seen in the television series. And then I went on to another one, so I'm going to make my way through. I thought I'd do 2 a week. My next favorite character is Mollymauk Tealeaf. He is just, I've got a fucking massive crush on him. And he wakes up one day in the forest with no memories, new tattoos, and the immediate conviction that life is best lived loudly, colourfully, and with maximum theatrical flair. So instead of asking reasonable questions like, who am I? Molly decides to join a circus, get extremely into tarot, can you see why I love him, and avoid thinking about anything that feels too important, serious. So this was about Molly's transformation from a literal empty vessel, the only word that he could say in the beginning was empty, into a walking, talking performance piece. He's part fighter, part fortune teller, part emotional misdirection tactic, but the brighter he shines, the darker the shadows behind him grow. How long can you really run away from your past and who you were? But, you know, when your past is a locked room and you've lost the key, maybe you don't want to find it. Maybe you don't want to open that door. But eventually fate and destiny starts circling and reminding Molly that whilst reinvention is powerful, it doesn't completely erase what came before. So this one was more leaning into the questions of identity. Are you who you were? Who you choose to be? Or who people see when you perform well enough? The art in this was very lush. It was kinetic and bursting with color, movement, and symbolic detail. This one had a lot of tarot imagery, blood magic costumes, and body language. It was very flamboyant, tender, deflective, and quietly tragic. And it was mostly about chosen identity versus inherited self, but it was very much wrapped in circus lights and flirtatious bravado. If Molly was a tarot archetype, of course I have to get into that, I would say that he's a combination of the Fool. So this newly amnesiac awakened Molly is sort of a reborn wanderer. He's beginning this story with no past, no memory, no protection, just complete innocence, naivete, and optimism for life. But he's also shadowed by the moon card, which is the archetype of the unknowable self, the subconscious. It's about dreams, symbols, blood and instinct. And I feel like a lot of the imagery in this suits the moon card in that there's a lot of moody and shadowy imagery. I gave this one a 3.75 because I thought, origin story, we were going to learn about who he was before, Lucian, which was hinted at in the television series. And I'm like, what happened to him? What happened to him that caused him to lose all of his memories and wake up in the woods with all of these tattoos and these powers? And like, you know, can we know? And no, this doesn't really tell. So even though these are titled origin stories, they're not really giving anything away. It's just slightly beefing up the glimpses you have seen in the show. So I went into these thinking I was going to know more about their past previous to what we've seen in the show, but that's not the case. So I give it another 3.75. I also felt, I'll say in both of these, so in Jester's one, it didn't showcase her dirty humor as much as the show does. So I felt that was lacking in there. And with Molly, it didn't showcase his bisexual playboyness and loverboyness as much as the show does. So those two were missing from these. I then read Acts of Service by Lillian Fishman. This was originally going to be for a Valentine's Day romance, love, relationship book reading vlog, but I've since scrapped it because every single book I picked up after this, I hated so much that I had to DNF. As you know, I'm not much of a romance reader or a toxic relationship reader. And I thought, why am I doing this? I don't have to do a Valentine's Day themed vlog. I did promise myself this year that, yeah, I'm going to lean away from all the themed vlogs I do just so I can read more naturally to myself and therefore have a year where I don't have a 3.13 rating, because this is my life and I want to enjoy the books I read. I want to enjoy them. So, but I'd already read this one, so you're going to hear about it here. This was to do with, I was looking for a toxic physical body romance book, and it did suit that. So this is about a queer woman in Brooklyn who decides to anonymously post some nude selfies onto the internet because she's bored, horny, and wants attention. And then this somehow leads to this very messy three-way person relationship with a very introverted woman and a cocky AF man. And then our main character, Eve, spends the novel oscillating between pleasure and panic while asking, is this empowering me or am I disassociating? Everybody in this book is hot, nobody's chill, and sex keeps opening philosophical selfhood trapdoors. This is definitely not a romance where people grow healthier together. It's a novel about wanting something very badly and not knowing whether wanting it is good for you. I think that if you like books that feel like a conversation you're eavesdropping on at a party full of messy grad students, this might hit. The main themes in this are desire versus identity, power, consent and imbalance, submission, both emotional and sexual. BDSM features heavily in this, queer intimacy outside neat labels, and then self-erasure versus self-definition. So let me tell you about my personal thoughts about it. So Eve is already in a relationship with another woman when all of this goes down, and she decides to keep her new throuple situation hidden from her girlfriend. So there's just like the infidelity thing already and the dishonesty. I seem to really dislike books with dishonest characters if they're not fun and wacky or a horror book or something. You know, like My Husband was one I did enjoy, despite the fact that woman was cheating on her husband and she was dishonest, but it's a different situation. In this one, there was just very yucky infidelity and the power dynamics were gross. And all of the characters, all of them suck here. They're insufferable. The biggest issue I had with this is the fact that these two women are obsessed with the most mediocre white man who thinks he's spitting truth, but he's really just the most obnoxious wanker who likes to subjugate women. But you want me to believe that he has Olympic level dick game? I don't buy it. Especially because the two women that are sleeping with him are also both gay, have both previously only really enjoyed sleeping with other women. So I didn't buy it. I'm like, him? I also found that this book thinks it's a lot more profound than it really is. It is trying so hard to be subversive and risque, but I found it to be banal and saying nothing of value. It's supposed to be queer, okay? So it's supposed to be queer, but it just felt very heterosexual. And like I said, you have two queer women that are just completely focused on this very disgusting, bland ass man. And we're, oh, why do I love getting fucked by a man so much? I just spent the whole time going, it was definitely not the bisexual rep that I was hoping for and thought I was getting. There's a sentence in here that I never want to hear again, and that is the worm of his cock. So yeah, I didn't like it. To me, it was similar to Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney and Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. I thought it was going to be more like Bad Animal by Ella Baxter, but it was not. The next book that I picked up, this was an audiobook, and it was If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor, Naga, and it was narrated by Noor, Naga, and Amin El-Gamar. I gave this a 2.5. No, I didn't. I gave it a 2. Because the ending pissed me off. So this was not what I was expecting. I'll tell you what it's about before I tell you what it's actually about. So it's about an Egyptian American woman who returns to Cairo to find herself. And she is armed with a lot of diaspora guilt. And she finds herself, though, a lovely sun-drenched apartment. She is financially blessed. Okay, so her social status is quite high in Egypt, which seems to have a class system. And there she meets a revolutionary photographer who once documented history and now documents his insane cocaine usage. Somehow they fall in love, kind of cohabitate, and attempt to heal colonial trauma through sex proximity and mutual projection. Turns out love does not fix imperialism, addiction, or resentment. Instead, it curdles. And in this, desire becomes control, politics become personal, and everyone is just fucking sweaty and miserable and dirty. This is not a swoony love story. This is not a love story to me. Yes, it was kind of trying to focus on American identity and politics abroad, the fetishization of the homeland, and the unequal power dynamics that are hiding inside relationships. It was alternating perspectives between hers and the guys, and you have to sit inside both of their heads and have to listen to all of their self-justifications, hypocrisies, and blind spots. It was very uncomfortable. It was emotionally violent. If you need likable characters, run away. They're not here. If you want to read about desire and disappointment and toxic, abusive relationships, stay. Take a seat. Because the dude in this is the fucking worst. I thought the white, obnoxious dude in Acts of Service, no, is that what it's called? Yes, that is what it's called, was horrible. This dude, the way that he even just described her genitalia made me want to vomit. He was just a really fucking gross person. Like, you'd think that him being a raging coke addict is the worst thing about him. No, it's probably the least awful thing about him. He's just a misogynistic, chauvinistic, abusive piece of shit. And I could not understand why, especially her as a Western woman with privilege, would associate with him and put up with the way he was treating her. I am not Egyptian. My aunt is Egyptian, but she was born here. Her parents are from Egypt. So I can't comment on the representation of Egypt and Egyptians, but I don't know if they would be happy with this representation. So I'm just going to put that out there. I feel like perhaps it's not the best representation. There was a whole thing too about, like, you're only clean if you leave Egypt, if you can get out of Egypt. And I'm like, that's an interesting choice of words. I'm glad I listened to this because supposedly The physical version of this book doesn't have any punctuation, and that is something I cannot stand. My brain does not wrap around that very well, so I'm glad I listened to it. So I was able to differentiate who was speaking, because the female voice was for the female character and the male voice was for the male character. I don't believe their names were mentioned in this. So yeah, that probably did improve my comprehension of this book. But then we get to this ending. So like I said, it's just a fucking toxic relationship. It's disgusting. It's awful. And like I said, I hated being in the vile man's head. And the woman was just an idiot. So didn't enjoy that. And then at the end, we get this meta scene that is very reminiscent of Bunny. I don't want to tell you exactly what happens, but they essentially have this discourse about everything that has happened in the book. And I feel like, in a little bit of a way, it was self-congratulatory, but also it was probably trying to preempt any other criticisms that could be made of the book, and then like justified why they didn't hold up. But yeah, I was not a fan. It rubbed me the wrong way, and I gave this a 2. Like the writing is good. Forget the meta scene at the end. The writing is good, but it's just the story. I just didn't enjoy the story. I didn't enjoy the characters. I didn't want to read about another toxic abusive relationship. And like there was a bit of diaspora identity stuff in there, but like I said, I wasn't entirely sold on this being like good representation of Egypt and their system and their culture and everything else. The only reason I listened to this whole thing was because at the time I was still finishing the decks, and there were no other audiobooks, and I only had like 30 minutes left once I finished. I thought I may as well listen to it. And yeah, it was not what I was anticipating, unfortunately. And then now the next book I listened to was also an audiobook. So I was hoping just to get back into purely physical and ebooks, but a huge amount of audiobooks have come in on Libby right now. I'm like, where were you when I needed you? Where were you when I was spending 30 minutes a day trying to find an audiobook to put on while I worked? Now you come. This is the Book of Miriam by Miriam Margolyes, narrated by Miriam Margolyes. She's an excellent narrator. She does voice as well, but she's also just a really good storyteller. So this was a delight to listen to her. And this is essentially this very chaotic ABC guided tour of her brain and her life, where every room contains an anecdote you probably weren't emotionally prepared for. Miriam ricochets between celebrity encounters, unapologetic opinions, sex, aging, politics, performance, bodily decay, joy, you name it. There is no shame, no filter, and absolutely no warning before she tells you something you cannot unread. If you've ever seen any interview with Miriam, especially on the Graham Norton show, you know exactly what I mean. You will get hit with sentences like, never be afraid to bring smegma into a conversation. It can help. So Miriam just hops very freely through decades of her work. So she's an actress. She also audiobook narrates. She then talks about her lust, her rage, her delight, her regret, and her glorious refusal to behave. She is crude, okay? If you don't like crude, dirty humor, you won't like this book. I do. She's very political, so she is a pro-Palestine Jew. That does feature a lot in this book, her opinions about that. But she's also very affectionate. She's furious. She's horny, baby. And she's just a human. So beneath the shock value statements, there is some wisdom about aging and her irrelevance and the relief of finally not giving a toss. I don't think she ever really cared too much about the opinion of others, even in her youth. She's quite scandalous, but especially now in her older age, she will not be quiet for the sake of maybe her career behaving so that she gets more parts. I think she's completely willing to just throw caution to the wind in that respect and get cancelled if, you know, it means that she spoke her truth. It's just a lot about how women can be loud, old, queer, rude, brilliant, and adored all at the same time. We all contain multitudes. And I think it's just a nod to being naughty, but not wicked. there was just, like I said, she's a dirty, dirty bitch. Like, I love to hear what comes out of her mouth. The turn of phrases that she uses, I have never heard before in my life. For instance, I thought I knew all of the ways that you can talk about titties, and yet she dropped this key coining, and I'm like, I will use that. And that phrase to describe this are globes of glory. Globes of glory. And I'm like, fucking brilliant. Love it. Going to put that into my lexicon, my globes of glory. I think if you love Miriam, you'll love the book. If you find her abrasive or obnoxious or disgusting, you won't like it. Like, she flawed, yes. Does she have opinions that I don't agree with? Yes. But overall, this was really entertaining. Like I said, she's fantastic audiobook narrator. She does talk about her Harry Potter time because obviously she was in that series. So like I said, she touches on a lot of things. She lives in Australia now, so she brought that up as well. And she has a partner with whom she's been for 58 years. So even though she sucked a lot of dicks, like a lot, she's not bi. She is queer. And I don't think she actually ever had sex with a man. She just helped them ejaculate for a while there while she was figuring her shit out. But I am giving it a, what do you rate? It's so hard to rate. I don't know how to rate memoirs. I don't feel like it's right to do. So I don't know. Like, I want to give it a 4.5 just for entertainment value alone. This was just a delight to have on in the background. Obviously, I had to have this on when the kids were not around. This is adult content, pure adult content. But yeah, I'd probably give it a 4.5. That's finally we're bringing it to the end of all the books that I read. So let me tell you everything I read. I'll sum it up in a sentence. So I read The Hierarchies by Ros Anderson, which I gave 3.5. A sentient robot woman realizes that being designed to love doesn't protect you from being exploited. It just makes the exploitation more efficient. Dracula by Bram Stoker, I gave 3.25. An immortal creep terrorizes England until a determined squad proves that friendship, faith, and a fuck ton of garlic can solve most problems. It's a Mood by Cara Woodhouse. I gave 4.5. It's a house vibe. Then there was Critical Role, The Mighty Nein Origins, Jester Lavorre, which I gave 3.75. A glitter bomb of an origin story that proves Jester didn't become chaotic by accident. She became chaotic because of absentee parenting and to survive. Critical Role, The Mighty Nein Origins, Mollymauk Tealeaf, which I gave 3.75. Amnesia by Bitch wakes up, chooses vibes, dodges trauma with jazz hands until destiny says, just wait a second. Acts of Service by Lillian Fishman, which I gave a 1.5. An unsettling novel about sex as a mirror that sometimes shows you who you are and sometimes just swallows you whole. We then have If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga, which I gave 2 stars. An intimate, toxic novel about how love collapses when it's built on fantasy, power imbalance, and unresolved political longing. And then the final book I read was the Book of Miriam by Miriam Margolyes, which I gave 4.5. A joyous, scandalous collection of thoughts and memories from a woman who has never once tried to be palatable. So those were the books that I read for this reading vlog. It'd be good to get back on schedule and just do 1 week of reading at a time. All of that, all of the bulk filming I did during the November time to get way ahead, all of that time's been eaten up. I'm now just 2 weeks ahead of schedule. I think I got myself to 6 weeks, but then I had that month of illness, and then now I had like the days off filming because it's Christmas and New Year's, and I don't have any regrets. I prioritized, life and what works for me. But it's nicer when you're a content creator, when you just have a bit of a buffer, so that when things do happen in life, you still have like regular uploaded content. But it's not the end of the world if I miss a day or a week of videos. But I am glad to now be back onto a bit more of a routine. I don't know about you guys, but that week between Boxing Day And then, you know, the first week of January, just the Christmas till the first week of January, it's a fucking time hole, wormhole, black hole where just time doesn't exist. Time just does not. Time just moves really weirdly. You never know what day it is. You're like, what day is it? I don't know anymore. When are we? Is it last year? Is it next year? Who am I? It's just a very weird, unsettling time. I don't know. And you're just completely, like I said, off schedule and off kilter. And then now, what's the date today? The 5th of January. Now it finally feels like, okay, now we're back on track. We're back on the regular life swing, just in holiday mode instead of in this weird limbo, perpetually falling down the rabbit hole state. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. I just noticed my French. Yes, I did just have a shower. I hope you don't mind like the less glamorous stuff. I did put lipstick on today for you guys. I hope you appreciate it. It's just because if I don't, I get very washed out by this color if I don't have anything on my lips. But I've been doing sort of the least in terms of dressing up because I'm not leaving the house. I'm not going to put makeup on and put an outfit on if I'm staying home. That's too much. But I'm rambling. Let me know down below what you read this week. And until next time, stay wild, Star Child. So like it's a massive vanity, as you can see. There are a lot of pieces and a lot of screws, but for some reason they're like, do not use power tools. I am a rule breaker. I'm using a drill. There is just no fucking way I am hand screwing over 100 screws in. Pray for me that I don't fuck this up. All right, I just gotta do all the drawers now. Just under 3 hours later, it's all done. And I am done, but now we have to move everything into it. Oh God. I'm documenting, so now I have to empty this massive set of drawers of all my decks and then move this set of drawers to Valentine's room. And what did you spill on top of it?
It's slime.
Of course it is.
Hey, Bubbles is there, Bubbles is there.
Bubbles, hate sugar death. Wish. Okay, it is done. So I've moved some of the furniture into here. This is just going to have to do for now. I have not organized the decks. I've just chucked them all on there, but it is done. And the drawers are in Valentine's closet. RIP my back, guys, moving this set of drawers. I don't even know how much this weighed. This was insanely heavy.